Свободы и покоя я хотел забыться и заснуть.
It's all bases. Where's the top part?
Yeah.
Anchor here.
Yeah, and then they put flowers.
Flowers.
Yeah.
Here you go.
So this way. Yeah. I don't even think you need that up close. No? I don't think so. Oh, maybe because that was...
Claire, which way at first? No, at first or the way it is.
That's correct.
The way it is good.
I was thinking, should we come over here and then go that way?
But why? Why not bring this thing here?
Bring the thing
Why
in.
next?
Well, you
Because
just
it's
need
harder to.
The main thing is we need the orange. So you're not, you're no longer using by the claw.
Yeah, so here we go. Very good. Very good. Very good.
Close her feet.
Good.
It's about 5 inches here.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's here, Puff.
All sound, time to get ready. Time to get ready for the leading, okay? Be with my cousin.
They're behind you, so they're gonna.
No? Okay.
So we can put the bread. Yep. Perfect. You like this?
Okay. Are we ready? Are we all? Okay, are we ready? 1, 2, 3, slowly.
And then back to
Don't trip over the locks.
watch out for the wall.
How is this? Are we centered?
At the end of the boards here, or at the end of the boards there?
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit towards us. Yes. Now we want. Do we need? We want to just secure the power.
Yes.
Yes.
We have this big stuff.
Other part. In 4 places, maybe.
Wait for them to go.
text by Mikhail Lermontov. Alone I set out on the road. The flinty path is sparkling in the mist. The night is still. The desert harks to God. A star with star converses. The vault is overwhelmed with solemn wonder. The earth in cobalt aura sleeps. Why do I feel so pained and troubled? What do I harbor? Hope? Regrets? I see no hope in years to come. Have no regrets for things gone by. All that I seek is peace and freedom, to lose myself and sleep, but not in the frozen slumber of the grave. I'd like eternal sleep to leave my life force dozing in my breast, gently with my breath to rise and fall. By night and day my hearing would be soothed by voices sweet singing to me of love, and over me forever green a dark oak tree would bend and rustle.
Last Sunday, 4 o'clock. I have full life together, 66 years. It's cut in half, and I am left with trying to figure out how to live a half-life. Make half loaves, make half puppets, half puppet shows, half swords, half music. In the winter and spring of 1955, I lived in an unheated shack in somebody's garden, doing anti-music, anti-dancing, anti-conversation, language. My parents were scared stiff. My father had an idea. His friend Franz Rosenzweig was a collaborator of Martin Buber's when he did his Bible translation. So my father asked Buber, who did guest lectures in Munich, to set my head straight. I took my bike to drive to meet Buber and ran it into a motorbike, and my head got cracked. And I ended up in the hospital. And in the hospital, Elka visited me as a recruit for my anti-dance company. And she didn't set my head straight.
Dee Dee, if you could.
Do you want to start, Dee Dee?
In 1960s, I was a liberated beatnik. Elka was a liberated Soviet pioneer. But we both played a kind of role of being the husband and the wives of our husbands and the mothers of our children. There was a kind of conservativeness to us. And for example, we did not let our children play naked in the sandbox in Tompkins Square. And I recall Elka she was very modest. She never breastfed in public. We had what now is called play dates with the children. They would sometimes, my children would go to her house on the 3rd floor of 6th Street, and sometimes her children would come to my place on Henry Street where we had a backyard, and they would play together. I wrote some of these things down. I don't think either of our husbands ever changed diapers. But I recall that I was not surprised when Elka felt offended at Cape Farm with the shirtless gardening practice of many women. But I understood it, and I supported her. We had many things in common. We both read extensively to our children. She would read Tolstoy and Russian fairy tales in Russian. The children spoke both Russian and German. And I would read what is now disgraced Laura Ingalls Wilder's stories of colonial America. She always worried about the finances, and ways to support the ever-expanding theater. Her brilliant and persistent understanding of the role that printed graphics could be, well, both on paper and cloth, would enable a base of support for the extravagant superstructure of Peter's visions. How many, literally millions of bread and puppet banners and posters hang in the homes throughout not only the U.S., but the entire world. Dear Elka, a constant in the midst of chaos. I truly love you.
This is from Sylvia Mangalam, one of Elka's oldest friends. Elka and I were connected on so many levels. There was the Russian background we both had. Elka and Elena, Elka's sister, were born there and escaped via Siberia as the Germans advanced in the east in 1939 or 1940. Living in Russia in those days was at a very basic level. Perhaps that is one reason Elka felt very at home with the bare basics. In 1943, when we met, Elka's English was already perfect. Masha, her mother, insisted on lessons in Russian every day for both Elka and Elena. So in lesson time, we could not be together. It was the height of World War II, and John Scott, her dad, was bureau chief for Time magazine, first in Sweden and then in Berlin after the war was over. John's father was Scott Nearing, economist, dismissed from the University of Pennsylvania for advocating the end of child labor. He went on with his second wife to produce maple syrups and books in Vermont. It was a left-leaning family, and so was ours. Helen, Scott's wife after Nellie Seeds, helped Elka's singing. Helen was a musician. Elka was very intelligent. She could see the paths to her goals and the shortest routes to them, not distracted by side issues, direct. This also characterized her interactions with others. While not intending hurt, her observations were direct and honest, unvarnished. Maybe truth does hurt sometimes, but hurt was never intended. These observations were only given when requested or when conflicting goals of others intersected hers. The observations were delivered in calm, objective tones. Conflicts were worked on to fair outcomes, even if it took time. On that, Elka was willing to spend time. She was very creative, always making and thinking of things to make. I have a woodcut she made while in college of an angel. Over the years, there were the calendars, banners, little cookbooks, Daisy Dop's Vermont about the farm where they settled, translations of favorite verse from German and Russian. Masha and John helped a lot during the early days of Peter and Elka's marriage. No wonder she was attracted to Peter. He shares a lot of her characteristics and dedication to basics, though I think he delves more deeply into philosophical writing and spent more time writing. In many ways, he depended on her insights and honest reactions to his works. There was also an earthy quality about Elka. Nature worked through her and motivated her. When we were about 11 or so at her Uncle Bob's farm, a labor organizer's family was staying in a cottage there, and there was a boy in the family. I looked on him as a playmate. I got the sense Elka looked on him as possibly something else. Having children early in her marriage, trying to get a teaching certificate, Masha insisted on this and helped a lot with the children. Trying to run a household must have been a terrible strain. I remember her crashing to the floor with baby Solveig to nurse her before rushing on to other chores. This was a worker. Perhaps from those days emerged the efficiencies built into her daily activities. There was a lot of love in that household. I remember that when they were in the Lower East Side of New York in a railroad apartment, when Maria was 1 year old and it was time to go out. Organizing 5 children to go out together was no mean feat, and it was accomplished with a minimum of fuss, and Elka was so full of joy going out with her wonderful children. I think that's where I saw fire about the Vietnam War. I was totally blown away by that performance with such minimal, exceedingly effective accoutrements. From the example of this life and the ongoing life of the theater, which Elka helped happen, Society may find a pattern for the future. This pattern may save all of us from the grave danger to us and nature that our over-consuming lifestyles predict. You, Helen.
Well, I have just two little stories which go back to the beginning of Dee Dee's talk when we lived in New York and Elka and Peter and four of the children were on East 4th Street, I believe. This was at New Year's of 1966, there was a transit strike, and on January 4th, Hannah was born, Hannah was born, and I remember Elka and Peter walked from East 4th Street up to visit me at the New York Hospital on 68th Street. That was a wonderful, wonderful thing. And then 3 years later, we'd come to Vermont, but we're back in New York, so that we could greet Nessa. Also happened on January 4th. And so it happened to be Hannah's birthday. So what to do? Elka and Peter took Hannah in so that I could go to the hospital and have Nessa. And since it was her birthday, of course they made a wonderful party for her. It was her third birthday, so they made a beautiful party for her. I heard about it.
I have to add something to what I said because many of you may not know who Martin Buber was. In my family, Martin Buber, for my father and me, was a really great discovery. He collected the Hasidic tales and issued them. He specialized in collecting everything about the Baal Shem Tov, Rabbi Nachman, all these tales. And my father knew how fond I was of Martin Buber. That was the reason why he tried to get me corrected, but instead I got corrected otherwise.
So I just wanted to honor my mother's political roots. She was born in the USSR. Her parents were communists. Her father was an American communist. Her mother was a Russian communist. And they were both in a city that was built in a very short time. And they were part of that extraordinary project. Elka carried that hope, but also the understanding of suffering that goes with change and wanting to make a better world. And I just want to honor her perseverance and her clarity about what was right and what was wrong, and her central input into the theater from that tradition that she came from. And her great-grandfather, Scott Nearing, was her my great-grandfather, was like her principal teacher and voice that gave her that politics. And he was this communist economist who was basically ostracized for his convictions, and he never lost track of that. So.
And many of you may remember him lecturing here on the farm annually for many years in a row.
I toast to breath that carries you forward. I want to speak to Elka's children, to Elka's family, her husband and grandchildren, to the lives that came from Elka and to the life that lived with Elka, to you who are losing Elka the hardest. I toast Elka deep in your lives. I toast your breath. I toast your lives that are Elka's continuation.
And then sing.
Yeah.
So we're going to lower her down.
So set up the straps. Book side on this side. Side here. And we'll pull the straps from this side. Oj Boże mi mili wysoko. Oh my God, my dear God from the highest heavens. Hear out my prayer. Take my soul up into heaven. And my body into the damp earth. Eventually grow over with grass. And then plant red kalina on it. It will bloom there in the spring. Kalina. And I, like an orphan, so pale in the field, there, all alone, I will rest. looked around in this world, so quickly the years have flown by. At one time, my dear hands, they worked so hard. And now they lie here upon my chest. At one time, my eyes could see so sharply. But now they lie closed. How difficult it is to lie down upon the damp earth. And no longer see my relatives. Acquaintances and close friends, come here, do come to visit me. The red kalina that is here upon my grave, come to water it with your tears.
There's a reception or booth up above in the forest. And examples right there. Thank you everyone for coming.
Russia. My spirit looks to God alone. My spirit looks to God alone. My rock and refuge is His throne. In all my fears, in all my fears, in all my fears, and all my ways, my soul on His salvation waits. In all my fears, in all my fears, in all my fears, and all my soul on His salvation waits. False are the men of high degree, the baser sort are vanity. Laid in the valley, laid in the valley, laid in the valleys of light as a puff of empty air. Laid in the valley, laid in the valley, laid in the valleys of light as a puff of empty air. Make not increasing gold your trust, nor set your hearts on glittering dust. Why will you grasp? What will you grasp? And will you grasp and believe the slow, and not believe what God has spoken? Why will you grasp? Why will you grasp? And will you grasp and believe the slow, and not believe what God has spoken? For sovereign power reigns not alone. Grace is the partner of the throne. Thy grace and justice, great Savior, shall grace and justice, shall well divide our last reward. Thy grace and justice, great Savior, shall grace and justice, shall well divide our last reward.
Just really wanted to give thanks to Kelsey, I don't know if she's still here, and Susanna, who helped Elka so much in the last months of her life, and with such love and tenderness, and just they were just the best helpers for her and understanding. And also to all the puppeteers and community members and easers and staff people, and so many hands made this possible. We
Can't thank you enough for everything that you guys did to make this be the event that it was. And just all our thanks and gratitude for that.
Juanita.
And Juanita too, in the early days.